Welcome to Ain't Nothing New. My name is Darius.
I am George.
And I'm back. I'm here. Sorry, that was, I was supposed to be like this grand, like, I'm Darius. Hello. Hello, I'm Darius. But that didn't work out how I always like it to work out. You know, how things happen. It's okay. We're going to keep moving on. We're going to keep on keeping on. Because that's the name of the game, right? We're in my purple rain, right? Okay. I don't know if I've worn this before during the podcast, but it's an amazing movie, amazing soundtrack, amazing song. All right. So
Amen.
We are going to get into a little bit of crazy stuff today. We're going to start it off. We're going to be talking a little bit about this going on here. This is the Russian bounties with the Taliban. Then after that, we're going to be going into a little bit of the Melinda Gates. Is she racist? Is she a man? Only time will tell. And then we're also going to be talking about a little bit about the... sorry, got a little Luda in me for a second. So we're going to be talking about the Black Lives Matter, how the co-founder is a Marxist. If you don't know what that is, I Wikipedia for you, because that's how we really did all our homework back in the day, right? And then we're going to kind of cap it off with 120 million people died of the C word. The wrong C word. He used COVID. It was communism. But, all right, let's bring it back around. And so let's bring it straight to what everyone's talking about at the moment. And that is...
the Russian operation targeted coalition troops in Afghanistan, intelligence finds.
So, this is Washington Post. Their owner's doing really well. Just want to throw that out.
Yeah.
But, let's, George, take it off.
So essentially, according to John Hudson, Shane Harris, Missy Ryan, and Aaron Nakashima, all national security reporters for the Washington Post, a Russian military spy unit offered bounties to a Taliban-linked militants to attack the coalition forces in Afghanistan, including the U.S. and British troops, and the striking escalation between the Kremlin's hostility towards the United States, American intelligence found. So, sometimes American intelligence is not always right. They were not right about the WMDs. They were not right like the Gulf of Tonkin. Like, kind of list goes on and on. They were wrong about going to Afghanistan because essentially the Taliban isn't the one that hit 9/11. It was Saudi Arabians. And, like, yeah, it's just a big fucking joke. And to escalate us into this, or keep us in this 20-year war, essentially, where you're having 19-year-olds that were 1 year old when it started happening in this war now.
So you're telling me I have to trust my government all the time? That they never tell, or they always tell the truth? What are you trying to tell me, George? Look, okay, Gulf of Tonkin, if anyone doesn't know, look it up. It's essentially a false flag. I know I use that word. To get us into the Vietnam War. Among other things that our government has done. Look, our intelligence agency, they're very intelligent, but they are sometimes nefarious. And so this is a problem. Look, I saw today Nancy Pelosi trying to keep her teeth in, trying to talk about how the Russians, they're trying to kill us. They have bounties. Well, first of all, I have to put it on the record. We shouldn't be in Afghanistan, right? George just mentioned, George over there, that guy, 2 windows over from me, and 2,000 miles-ish from me right now.
Yeah, I think like 1,500.
Yeah, so he just told you that it wasn't really it wasn't Afghanis that did it. We were just there for some reason. Some kids don't know why we're there. So especially the kids that are burning down the cities right now that were born after 9/11. We were there for CIA nefarious reasons. Dare I say, to protect poppy fields? Ooh, which is what? Heroin. That is that's on the wire. That's what we'll talk about. Here's another thing. We were told for how many years that Osama bin Laden is in Afghanistan, right? He wasn't in Afghanistan. Where was he? Was he
Pakistan.
maybe in Pakistan? Yeah, that's kind of crazy, right? So why did we not only stay there, why are we still there? So this is my issue. My issue is this. Look, it's wrong, and it should be looked into if Russians are actually putting bounties, right? Is it a rogue general? Is it Putin himself? Is it just rich Russians? Who is it? Is it someone through a Russian company that's actually owned in America? We need to get to the bottom of it, right? There are bounties, well, alleged bounties, on soldiers' heads, right? But this is the thing. Why are we there? Seriously, why are we there? You know, the whole, I don't know if you know what the Cold War is, but that was a proxy war that was never hot, meaning Russia and America never actually went to war with one another, but they used people of all colors around the world to fight each other for themselves, right? And this is the problem. People like Nader, Schiff, Bolton, Mattis, and Nancy Pelosi grew up during the Cold War. When they were little kids, they had to do these crazy sirens, and air raid sirens would go off. And you know how, like, remember we did, like, in California, we had the Great Earthquake. Drills. Well, they had communist nuking us drills. So when they were little tiny babies, a little baby, when, Nader was a lot smaller, not shorter, thinner, or Nancy Pelosi actually looked human, they had something called, like, drills. And they thought, and in their head it was ingrained, indoctrinated, and just brainwashed that the Russians were going to fight them, going to kill them, and wanted them dead. And the problem is, all these people had and were told that there was going to be their great war against Russia. The Cold War would go hot one day. And it never did. It never did. So they want their great war. But the problem is they're all going to die in the next 10 years. Honestly. And so guess who gets to fight the great war? Not me. Not this guy. Youngins. So the problem is we really need to understand that we don't need to go into a full-scale war with Russia. We don't need to go to full-scale war with China. We are kind of moving that way. I would much rather have Russia on our side than to
it makes sense
against them. Europe actually has noticed, and Merkel has noticed, that America isn't the superpower it used to be. And not only are they not the superpower they used to be, they don't want to be the world police. The Trump administration, Merkel has said that they don't want to be the world police anymore. We are taking troops out of Germany and different parts of Europe. We are trying to take out troops from different parts of the Middle East. We don't want to protect them anymore. We don't want to pay for it. We don't want to help them. And they understand that. So Merkel's actually calling for them to raise all their military budgets because they know that there's two superpowers on the rise. India and China. Now, luckily, they don't like each other. Luckily, they're fighting. And luckily, India's on our side. But that is a possibility, and that they will become enemies one day in the future, because when you're at the top, people want to knock you off the top. And they want to advance themselves. And like we said before, you need land. China needs land. That's why they're getting into skirmishes with Russia. That's why they're getting into different parts of the world through their funding, that they're actually going to be stealing ports, mining rights, mineral rights. We go on about this all the time. So going back to Russia, we shouldn't be in Afghanistan. But if they are doing that, and there are real bounties from Russians, we need to get to the bottom of it. And who? Is it the KGB? Is it Putin? Who is it?
So here's the kicker on this whole entire thing. Aaron Mate, he's the lead journalist for debunking Russiagate. And by the way, this is a tweet by him. By the way, the speculation comes from a House Democrats impeachment lawyer. On top of whether or not Trump is a Russian asset, maybe one day we can unravel the mystery of why that whole Ukraine endeavor was a massive waste of time and energy. And it's a big fumble. So Daniel Goldman is also a journalist. There has been no assessment or whether the president in the article it says the president was in the room and they found out in March and they decided not to do anything. apparently there's been no assessment of whether or not the president or others or around him pose a counterintelligence risk related to Russia. Like, it's just more of like, oh, we might have told them at this point.
Well,
and we're getting pulled into this again.
Yeah, we're always being pulled into bullshit. They don't like Trump. Trump is not business as usual. I'm not saying he's a good guy. I'm not saying he's our savior. He's not the Lord Emperor Trump. He is Trump. Okay, I'm not going to say he is for you or not because I don't know. He has done things that I like and he has done things I do not like. So what is he? We don't know. Is he business as usual? Is he part of the old guard? Is he a pedophile elite? I don't think so. Is he a Russian asset? I don't know. He loves that Russian putty. Maybe. I don't know. I think the only Russian in his life that's telling him what to do is honestly his wife, but that's just me.
Also, getting pulled into it, Chuck Todd had John Bolton on his Meet the Press show, and he asked, do you think that the president is afraid to make Putin mad because maybe Putin did help him win the election and he doesn't want him to make him mad for 2020?
So, okay. Here's a few things. This is not a sponsor, but I recommend everyone who's listening to this to start looking to Project Veritas. They have shown to us and unveiled some very interesting information soon on Antifa. So if you don't believe in Antifa, go watch their Antifa special. And if you don't believe in what Facebook is doing and how they're censoring certain people, go over there. The news told us for years that Russians were the ones who hacked and they were using bots on Facebook and there's just so much evil. Facebook monitors and controls everything they do. That's a fucking fact. Mark Zuckerberg, the robot, lied to everyone on the Senate floor. I believe he was the Senate or Congress. Who did he speak to? One of those. Doesn't matter. He spoke to the government and he lied to them and told them bullshit. Weird, right? And not only that, Project Veritas is leaked, and they've actually let go someone already that was leaked about how they have a bias. And they said, oh, we're looking at, this goes against our policies, we're looking into training. That's called CYA, cover your ass, right? Your policies say something, but then there's unwritten and unspoken policies. There's majority of opinion policies, right? You have, if 90% of the people you work with hate somebody, but the policies that say don't hate them, they're gonna do it, right? It's the same thing with the Russian and collusion in the Mueller report. The top lawyer, Lisa Page, for the FBI, and the top FBI agent overseeing the whole team underneath Mueller and Comey, both not only hated Trump, were avid donors and to the Democrats. They had an affair, which I personally think their affair was all about dirt on them. So you do what we say and make sure, hey, you're going to be getting you're fucking someone over, but we're putting you on this because we know you're fucking each other because we have dirt on you now. That's how the elites work. But this is the thing. When you have 90% of your company disliking someone, and especially the people that have the say and monitor what is happening, they will cause, their bias will leak over into their work. Bias leaks over into work every day. Okay, I don't care what you work in, there's gonna be your personal bias leaks into what you do. But going into that, we don't know. We need an investigation. And the problem is, again, who, like George said, very specific people are the ones who brought this information forward. Now, something that we know. Do you know there's handwritten records, and there's records of what is said. They're not supposed to keep all of them, of course. But especially if you're fired or quit, you have to get rid of your records. You're supposed to burn them. That's what they said to Bolton, and Bolton's like, "Oh, good thing I have a good memory." You fucking liar. God, the only thing I like about him is that fucking mustache. It's epic. It hides the evil. But whatever.
Yeah. Also, so essentially, we're in peace talks with the Taliban right now, trying to get the hell out of there. So, like, again, crazy how that shit happened just then. Like,
Yeah.
this is...
Every time we're in peace talks or trying to get along with a country that are the boogeymen countries, and the boogeymen, something like this happens. And that's a problem. Okay? I read something. It's not my credit. I'm not saying this. This is what someone else has written. How many coincidences does it take to be mathematically impossible? Seriously, you have to ask yourself that. It's insane. And we're at this point where it's like, how? How? You know, I'm sick and tired of this so polarized bipartisan bullshit that anything and everything they can do, they will do, right? I personally don't. I know another thing everyone's talking about is Obamacare. I got fucked by Obamacare.
Amen. Dude.
I know a lot of people that were
shit.
middle lower class that got screwed on their taxes because of Obamacare. Because Obamacare doesn't allow you to get better, not physically or health wise. It doesn't allow you to progress as a human being. If you tried to make more money, get a second job, try to save up for a trip, try to do anything, you owe them back subsidies. They screw you over. You have to project for the future about how much you're going to make. First of all, how can you project if you're in like a tip-based or hourly-based service, right? If you work at a restaurant, your tips vary day to day. If you work at SpaceX and you're hourly, you could work 40 hours one week, 70 hours the next week. Guess what? Well, they have insurance, but I'm just saying it as you don't know. Some people don't, some people do. So people like myself and that guy over there, George, we got screwed over on it. We owed thousands of taxes, and it screwed us over. I actually tried to save 1 year by getting a summer job on top of my job, and every penny that I saved, I had to give back to Uncle Sam. So, look, not everything is black and white. More than everything is gray. And we need to look into things. We need to understand history, and we need to look into things and try to understand things, right? And so we need to investigate this. This is a problem. But, one, we've been in talks with Afghanistan, or Afghanis and Al-Qaeda about pulling out. 2, we shouldn't be there in the first place. 3, was it just some crazy rogue Russian that was paying them? Was it Putin himself? Was it the KGB that's going behind Putin's back? We don't know. Russia is a place, right? Not like one person. It's a government and a country. The Russian government and a Russian country. Who in Russia? What, why, and where? You can't just jump to conclusions, right? You can't just be like, oh my God, every Russian is paying taxes for bounties. We don't know that. Did Putin do this? Maybe Putin needs to know because some rogue general is trying to start World War III just like our generals were trying, right? So we don't know. We need to find that out, and he needs to know. Now, going to Trump, they need to look into if that was actually told to him or not, right? Because, again, that's something they might withhold from him, especially if it's during like the impeachment and they think he's a Russian spy. So maybe they're just like, oh, okay, well, maybe we shouldn't tell him. We don't know. This is hearsay at the moment. They need to look into the daily reports and see if it was really briefed to him or not. We didn't know. Okay? And obviously, the lying crackpots on the media are in the pockets of the Democrats, and the Democrats are trying anything and everything and spending your money. Your money, my money, his money, their money, everyone's money, that bear's money. Motherfucking, if he was alive, his money. Okay? On trying to get him out. Everything they can. Everything they can. Everything. And it's like, it's insane. It's gone to the point where people that know Bolton is a hawkish, warmongering scumbag piece of trash are acting like
his plan was to go to Iran in 2020. That was his, like, he literally said that on stage. Like, I don't get it. Like, the more, dude, Like, just look at people's past, man. Like, the internet exists for a reason at this point,
but
guys.
This is the thing. There is an issue. So, I wanted to go into Melinda next, but let's skip George down to the BLM. Reason being, I want to talk about history for a moment, and then we'll get into the we will get into Melinda Gates and Bill
after
those dudes over in a few minutes. All right. Cool. So, we need to have a little history lesson, right? Because the problem is too many Americans are dumb. Too many Americans are unhealthy, right? That's why COVID's killing us. I actually got into an argument with my sister over Facebook. They wanted to start an argument. I made a comment. I haven't been on Facebook in over a year. And
dude,
my sister is a healthcare professional. And I had to point out some obvious. She told me that we aren't losing our liberties, and I had to just I could have gone in, but I'm not trying to ruin family because I love her.
That's what Facebook's made for, bro.
Yeah. No, seriously. But this is the problem. Most Americans don't know history, and I'm guessing this chick right here doesn't know history. She is a co-founder, right? There are 2 co-founders now that have spoken about being trained Marxists. Now, before I'll get back at it, I'm going to pull up this one real quick. Marxism, right? That's Marxism. Can you read it? So Marxism is a method of socio-economic analysis that... Okay, you can read the rest. I don't care. Now, look it. Marxism was created by a German, right? In 1860 something, right? Something or rather. And he, with another man, Friedrich Engels, right? They created it in the 19th century. And what happened was they spoke about something that was important going on was an industrial revolution, right? And how created a new type of working class. And obviously, capitalism capitalizes on money. And people capitalize, right? Capitalism, they capitalize. And so they felt it wasn't fair for the working class who did all the work to not get the same amount of money or representation or power. They feel underneath, less than, right? So again, are you done reading? If not, look it up. This is the Wikipedia. You can Google it. You can Wikipedia it. Encyclopedia. Call your grandmother. If you have any Russian family members, call them. I don't care who you talk to. This led to a few things. Marxism led to communism. Because they thought there was a utopia in having everyone being equal. It sounds great, doesn't it? If you believe in religion, the first utopia was destroyed by our own greed and quest for knowledge, right? We couldn't do it when there was 2 of us. Imagine if there's billions. Billions can't do a utopia if 2 can't do a utopia, right? This is an issue. Because, again, it leads into history. It has shown more than once that Marxism, well, first of all, Marxism is an offshoot or precursor to communism. And communism is not fun and dandy. And every socialist, communist, Marxist will tell you it wasn't done correctly. Okay, not even the guy who invented it did it correctly. So Russia is one of the most notorious for adopting Marxism, socialism, and communism at the end, right? And this is the problem that America's marching towards. First of all, the problem about communism is everyone's not free and equal. Almost 99.9% of people are equal. Gutter equal. Trash. Poor. Working hard for nothing. And a small group, essentially an oligarchy-sized group, or one dictator, has all the power. So they had to create something called totalitarianism, communism. Totalitarian communism, right? which is like total control, total power, dictatorship type of style, communism. Because, do you know, George, what's the difference between fascism and communism?
Go for it.
So communism, they say, is everyone owns everything and everyone's equal, but that's honestly a lie. Communism is everyone is bullshit, and the government controls everything through totalitarianism. So totalitarian communism is where it always leads to. So the government controls the businesses. Isn't that fascism? But the difference is you can be middle class in fascism. You can't be middle class in communism. So that's the main difference in my eyes. Fascism is when the government controls all aspects of business, economics, socialism, society, everything like that, right? Isn't that communism, though? Almost? I know the technical definition isn't that, but that's what it leads to, is totalitarian communism. And the problem is, a lot of people don't know how many people have died from that. Because again, what happens is, when you're a lemur, and you fall in line and always say yes, or a sheeple, or whatever you want to call it, right? It depends on what generation you are. Sheeples like to fall in line. And they end up becoming indoctrinated into ideals. And those ideals are dangerous. Those ideals say, this is only correct, and anybody who's against it is against you and everything you believe, and should be eradicated, right? That's normally what happens. It's either this or either that. It's very absolute. And people like to herd, they like to join sides, and they like to just close their eyes and live blind. So they will say and think they're doing the right thing while they're doing something wrong, right? What happened in Nazi Germany and communist Russia? Something where these things, like brown shirts, right? Brown shirts were people that went around that were replacing police, getting rid of, they were trying to defund the police. They actually took the weapons away from people. That sounds pretty familiar, right? They were pulling out their neighbors, not letting people into Capitol buildings, not letting people into certain areas, blocking off areas, controlling what people were doing, taking over businesses, strong-arming people, and forcing people into things. And forcing people to listen to them, or they're going to get beat up, effed up, whatever you want to say. They were using aggressive tactics that they said were to change, right? Again, something that happened to Germany, right? So we're talking about fascism, then we'll go into communism. But what happened in Germany was, in World War I, they lost. And they had signed a treaty, essentially, they submitted that they lost the war, and they signed a treaty saying that they will pay back the debts of World War I. Well, I don't know if you know about that, but that's a lot of money. They essentially ruined their currency, and they became very poor. People were starving, people were dying, people were angry, people didn't know what to do. So when you're fearful, angry, and need direction, what happens? You follow power. When something is offering you an opportunity to either better your situation or better what have you, that is why people listen. If you're starving and hungry, you're desperate.
That's why people join gangs.
Yeah. It's people have a yearning to, 1, survive, 2, to thrive, 3, to be a part of something. And fascism knew through Hitler, which again, it wasn't actually fascism. It was socialism. Look up the definition of Nazi. It was a National Socialist Party. They were socialists, right? Mussolini was actually fascist. He was real fascism. It's been lost in translation in history that they call Nazi fascism, but realistically, they were socialists, right? Now, let's go to Russia, because we all know the history of Germany after that, how it happened, what have you. Russia. So the Tsar, Nicholas, he was in control, And Lenin had a problem with that. This is in layman's term. Y'all can read a fucking book. Y'all can go look it up yourself. And there was a feud with the Bolsheviks and whatnot. And essentially what happened was they were starving. They were dying. World War I happened. They had to pull out of World War I, actually. They did.
Mm-hmm.
They were having severe issues. And the people were hungry, just like in Germany, Nazi Germany. They were starving, they were poor, and they felt that they were not given any rights. They didn't have the rights that the power had. You know, the Tsar lived in a giant mansion. His family was elegant, had everything in greatness. They had money and lavish, and the people were starving. People were dying. Countless Russians were dying in World War I. So, Lenin seized power by controlling the Red Army, right? They had a White Army and they had a Red Army. Look into that. That's the Red Army is the People's Army. Look into that. Don't take my word. Look into that. There's a lot of crazy, very interesting history about what happened. One day, they stormed the capital and they stormed the house of the Tsar. Right? So it went from protests and propaganda and issues to storming and massacring the Tsar's entire family. There's a fun little cartoon we all watched when growing up called Anastasia. That's literally about that. Anastasia was murdered. Another thing is a lot of the power structures, they're all intermarried in Europe. Look into that. So like a lot of the kings and queens and czars and all of them were all family, like cousins and whatnot, or married each other or what have you. Now, what happened in Russia? Well, Stalin took over one day, and Stalin created totalitarianism, or totalitarian communism. So everyone was at the bottom. Stalin and his cronies were at the top, and even at the top, don't listen, you'll disappear. He didn't care about his people. He cared about his name more than anything. Look up the Battle of Stalingrad. Another good movie to watch if you like movies is Enemy at the Gates.
Enemy at the Gates.
Great movie. Great movie. Still to this day, such a good movie.
Mm-hmm.
You could not let Stalin... They let Moscow fall before they let Leningrad fall. But Stalingrad, that's his name. You don't allow Stalingrad to fall. Okay, so I'm getting into this crazy story. But what I'm trying to get at is anger, protest, frustration, and not knowing what to do next. And hearing this blissful utopian idea of being equal, of raising up the poor and bringing the rich down, right? But the problem is, in Russia, they even have a proverb. Some are in the pit, and some are out of the pit. The ones in the pit want to pull the ones out of the pit into the pit with them, rather than asking the ones out of the pit to pull them from the pit. I don't know how to say that in Russian, but as a Russian proverb. And that's the problem. And that's what happens with humans. Most people want to just pull everyone down to the bottom. Instead of trying to lift everyone up in society, they want to pull them down. And that's what Marxism always does. Because Marxism always says we should be equal, we should be equally represented, and all rich should take all their money and give it to the poor, and everyone needs to level out. That's what they want, right? There is a list of demands that BLM have actually asked for. And that's essentially one of the demands. They want to redistribute wealth. I've heard that before. I've literally heard that before. It was in Russian and Mandarin. But that has been said before. Oh, that's another crazy place. Wow, didn't that happen in China? Communist China? Look up General Mao. What happened there? And
60 million deaths.
Yeah. We saved their asses. 1/3 of China was already invaded by Japan. But whatever. They don't owe us anything, I guess. This is the issue. Something that sounds great isn't always great. Every guy, every girl have been whispered sweet nothings while you're drunk. And they sound great. I've been lonely. And people don't look as good when you're not lonely, you know? It's like people's looks change. We have different set of minds sometimes, right? We're in different minds in different times of our lives, right? And if you take a pandemic that keeps you indoors, quarantined, not allowed to have fun, not allowed to go drink and smoke and fucking go to EDC, not go to here, not go to there, and then every day while you're inside, you're bombarded with hate and fear. Black people are being murdered in the streets. It's a genocide. It's not a genocide. They have died. And it's not fair. I'm not saying it's cool. It's not kosher. Okay? A lot of these murders have been real murders. They're murders, right? Some have been deaths, some have been murders. But you're bombarded with it. People you've never met, never heard of in your life, and never would meet in your life. You're being told that you should care about them. And again, you should care about all humans. But if there wasn't internet, you would never know. And then you're in diet and you can't do anything. You're not allowed to go anywhere. Not allowed to do anything. Not allowed to have fun. You're not allowed to get out your sexual frustration that's pent up. Let me tell you something. When someone doesn't have, I know this is going to be controversial, but I don't really care. If you go a while without sex, it messes with your brain. It really does. I've known a lot of females that get angry. I know a lot of guys that get creepy. And that's just what happens. People get very frustrated. So then they turn to something. They have an avenue of escape. And it's protest. And you are told that the government is trying to kill you. The government, and again, they're trying to kill you in different ways than you know. The things you eat, right? And another side note, we're gonna go to COVID in a little bit, but America's one of the top countries for obesity, heart disease, heart failure, lung disease, and accidental injuries. And the baby boomers is a gigantic, that's why they're called baby boomers, part of our entire national average of people. So they're elderly and they're unhealthy. They're gonna die from COVID. That's a fact. Okay, get back to Marxism. So you have these kids that are pent up. They're angry, they're frustrated, and they're being told every day, how bad it is and how it's a genocide. And so they feel that it's their right and obligation and duty to stand up and to go against it. And then they've been able to learn a little bit of history. A little bit. Okay, I'll admit, some of the history is completely true that they learned. But they don't know the full spectrum and broad spectrum of actual history. They don't really know. Because if you actually knew real history and a lot of history, you'd be pretty pissed at more than just white people. You'd be really pissed at a lot of things. There's a lot of fucked history. Most history is tarnished in blood, sweat, and tears. Okay? It's not candies. Okay? We're not from Candyland. We're savage animals that literally survived, being weak compared to lions and tigers and bears. Oh my. So we had to be savage. And so that once we conquered the animal kingdom, there's only one other beast to conquer, and that's ourselves. So we're not nice to one another, let's be honest. But yeah,
we're a civilized society, but yeah, I get what you're saying. Like people are fucking crazy as fuck. As far as
we're not
right now.
No. We have laws and obedience.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
That's what makes us civilized.
Yeah.
I'm on the internet. That's what makes us civilized. There are snuff films on the internet and kiddie porn. That's civilized. It's fucked up and evil and prime evil. But they're using civilized avenues, right?
Mm-hmm.
Look, There's pedophilia. There's elite monster cultish people out there still to this day. There's people that worship the cube of Saturn. Okay? The most advanced civilization in the world in 1938. Do you know what that was?
No.
Nazi Germany. So, let's not talk about being civilized or not, okay? You could be skewed and mentally skewed, right? Again, we are animals. We have crude bodies that are vessels. I believe that we have a soul, we are higher beings, but we are bound to a crude primeval vessel. We have animalistic tendencies. You know,
Yeah.
if you say that there'll never be war, I'll ask you, have you ever been punched, want to punch someone, or actually thrown a punch? And if you say yes, then you're a fucking hypocrite and there will always be war, because that's just it's a similar part of your brain, but it's on a bigger scale, right? Let's be honest. And then when you go into the red mode, the primeval adrenaline kick-in mode, it's hard to stop, right? That's why when you see fights and the guy's already down, the other guy just keeps wailing on him, but then gets on the cell phone. Was he civilized? Was he an animal at that time? What is he, right? We've all been there, right? Where you're in the adrenaline blur. The entire thing around you is blurred, or some people say they see red. And you can't stop because you can't stop yourself. It's the same reason why we even discuss this on, when the police are trying to arrest you, it's not comfortable. It's not okay. It goes against human nature to be, shackled and confined and held with, against your will. Even if you committed a crime, it's still technically against your will. And that goes against being a human. And if we're so civilized, you go, sure. We're not. Because again, we stem from animals. Even if we're evolved, spliced, a soul put into an animal, I don't know. But we are still part animal. And that's what leads Marxism into communism, into massacres, right? Sorry, that was a long rant. Have anything to say on this, George?
No, that was perfect. You killed it.
All right, just like General Mao. Okay, so we're gonna end with Bill Gates. The next thing we're gonna talk about, because I mentioned COVID, so let's jump into that, and then, all right. So Joe Biden, this is kind of old news by already. It's just a couple days ago. We wanted to do this, but we kind of had some technical difficulties. So, just like his brain, take it away, George.
So Joe Biden says there are 120 million dead from COVID in a latest gaffe. During a campaign stop in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, the president nominee Romney stated that U.S. has seen 120 million coronavirus deaths. Joe Biden has once again reminded voters why he richly deserves his self-proclaimed reputation as the gaffe machine. This guy is losing his shit.
Yes, he's lost his shit. And this, want to hear something weird? When he was sharp, he was still a racist.
He was bad.
And he was worse.
To grow up in a jungle, a racial jungle. 1977, real quote.
Yeah, that's a real quote. Just look up videos of Joe Biden touching children. You know what he asked one time? He asked a 12-year-old, "Are you 17?" She goes, "No, I'm 12. He's like, "Yeah, you look 17. Jesus Why the fuck Christ. Would you say 17? At least go 18, homie. At least go 18. What state you in? Idaho? Alabama? Fuck, dude. All right. Like I said earlier, there's only one thing that killed 120 million people. That started with a C, and that was communism, right? So that's why that was that little segue there. Communism killed 120 million people that we might know about. Millions upon millions of death, right? The leading cause of death in the last 100 years was literally communism. So that's an issue. And again, Marxism goes into that. So we're done with Marxism. We've been done with it for over 100 years. We should never go back to it, right? That's dumb. If you want to go back to something, go back to like ancient Egypt and whatever their government was considered. So that's better than Marxism. So, let's go back to this. So the problem is about Joe Biden right now. when Joe Biden was sharp, he was an actual racist. He helped create the crime bill. You could see his signature on the Patriot Act, which limited your rights. You can see his signature on a litany of regressive things that even at the time didn't sound good to non-racists. Racists loved it, like Bird, the wizard.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Wizard! Blah! Not that type of wizard. That type of wizard.
You're bringing the old Democrat boy.
Yeah. He was actually friends with, right? Friends with a lot of racists. And actually, you know, look at it. Again. Trump has not been called a racist other than a few times in court. Until 2015. At the time Joe Biden was helping the crime bill, Trump was getting an award and hanging out with Rosa Parks. Just let that ponder for a second. Trump used to know Al Sharpton. Trump used to know all... Like, just look up Trump with black celebrities or figureheads, and it's just lots of them, right? Actually, I'm gonna make a meme where it's Trump and Snoop Dogg shaking hands. I'm gonna be like, see, Trump and BLM brought it together. Snoop Dogg brokered the deal. And I was gonna spread some misinformation because that's how dumb you kids are. But Biden's losing it. Many professionals, and that's honestly why they're going after, you know, they're trying to go after the people around Joe Rogan to try to take Joe Rogan down, because the people that have been on Joe Rogan recently has said he's losing it. Joe Rogan was pro Bernie. Bernie made off with a lot of cash. Hopefully he's not anymore, poor Bernie. But the fact of the matter is, the Democrats aren't honest.
Screw the pooch.
They always screw the pooch. The pooch, as in, I don't want to know what that really means. Actually, it's probably some fucked up thing. Not, and also a pooch, isn't that a dog? Ooh. But okay, going back to it though, Biden is losing it, right? Biden must have had plastic surgery because his eyes look different, his face looks different, got a little bit of like a whoop, you know. That's why he's like, I love wearing the mask all the time because you can't see. And then they recovered from the surgeries, and that's why he's like, oh, now I can wear it here. He's losing it. And we all know the reason why he's waiting so long to say who his candidate is, because every day I see like a new candidate's like, hey, it might be it, you know. It has to be a woman, we all know that, and it should be a person of color. But Elizabeth Warren's like, I'm colored. I'm just melanin deficient. I'm melanin deficient. I'm a white woman of color, okay? Okay. So, you have those type of people. You have Kamala Harris that's like, I'm black, kind of. But you know, is your husband black? He's white with 2 white kids. But it's alright. I love the black family. I put away a lot. Does that count? I put a lot of men behind bars. Does that count? I was that little girl on that bus. You know Anne Frank? I was that little girl. But I was black version of Anne Frank. Alright? That's not racist, okay? So calm down if you think that's racist. You're just dumb. I'm making fun of somebody. Okay, I'm making fun of her non-black side. God. Duh. I have a riddle, George. It's a riddle that I made up in 2016 when Trump was running. I worked with a girl that was an avid BLM attendee, and she hated me with passion. So I thought of this question, and I asked her, I said, I'm not going to tell you my gender, but I'm just going to say, if I hate all black men, but love all black women, am I racist or am I sexist? Every person I asked that question said, I'm racist. But why? I love black women, but I hate black men. Are you saying men are more important than women? Because that's what that means if you say I'm racist. Because I have nothing to do with, I don't care about the race. I just love women. I don't like men. But because I added black, you think I'm racist, right? Now let me say it the other way. I love all black men, but I hate those black women. Does that sound racist or does that sound sexist? Ask yourself that. That's my riddle for you. And again, I created the riddle. It's sexist. Because again, I don't like a sex, but I love, it's nothing to do with the race. It's just the sex I don't like. Uh-huh. So, remember when you hear that, think about where your mind went. That's the problem. Your mind went to racism.
I'm racist.
But it has nothing to do with racism. I add black to throw you off, right? That's like saying I hate all white men, but I love white women. Is that racist or sexist? Again, I think it's sexist, but that's just me. It's not racist. I hate all men. I love all women. I'm straight. I don't like cock. So, you know, people are probably thinking like, damn, you think Joe Biden has dementia? Darius, calm down, bro. Like, but he's losing it. He really is. And again, you could find, and I'll give him this. We all stutter our words. We all jumble our words. But again, Joe Biden was a pretty good speaker. Racist, but pretty good speaker. He's been in politics. You have to be a good speaker. And, you know, you can find Trump stumbling and saying stupid shit. But, you know, again, I'll give Biden that benefit of the doubt that, like, okay, maybe he just jumbles sometimes. But the problem is, it's ludicrous and way too much, okay?
Yeah.
Just look up videos, undoctored videos of Biden saying something ridiculous. And there's a lot. So, don't take my word for it. Go on Google. Go on DuckDuckGo. Go on whatever search engine, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, your mama's ass. I don't care. So, just look it up. Okay? He has a problem. He is having issues. He is not trying to debate Trump. They're doing everything they can to tarnish Trump so he doesn't have to say a word. Because he's a puppet. I don't have strings. Boop. You know? And it's like Weekend at Bernie's. It's Weekend at Biden's. Okay? It's literally Weekend at Biden's. They're propping him up. Literally writing for him. Everything he says, not out of his mouth. He doesn't
tweet.
Yeah. He's like, I could do Tweety Bird. Look, Mr. Director, I could do... Please, look, Justin, I could do Tweety Bird. You know? Like Roger Rabbit tried to do Tweety Bird. That's what he thought. He thought Twitter was Tweety Bird. Okay? I thought I saw a putty cat. I did. So, his mental ability is dwindling. Again, we are harping on this. But the problem is, every time Trump says something, people destroy him. There's a trillion tweets, trillion complaints, and every media is talking crap. When Joe Biden does something like this, they always try to cover it up or act like there's nothing going on or whatever, what have you, or try to be like, well, Biden said this once, whoa, but look at Trump here. That's the problem. It is a double standard. And if we have someone who's 77 going to go into office, 77, do some math. 77, 78, 79, 80. Motherfucker, we trying to go in his second term at 81? Okay? So, again, I don't think he's going to last that long. But again, you're trying to get someone who's 77 in office during one of the most unstable times in the world while he is the perfect candidate to die of COVID-19 because he checks off some of the marks of being in that age and category to die from COVID-19. So you want someone who's ill, mentally deteriorating during a pandemic, traveling the world, traveling the country, trying to be the dominant power of the world. Is that what you're trying to say? Or are you trying to
He's
tell
chilling
me?
in the basement.
Or are you trying to tell me that it's not gonna be him, and he's just trying to hold out as long as he can to get someone in there? Je ne sais pas. I don't know. Okay, I don't know. And here's another thing. Obviously, he had plastic surgery, and he's probably in like a Baka tank from like Hoth in Star Wars, Return of the.
Oh yeah,
Empire Strikes Back. Yeah. He's probably sucking down that adrenochrome.
I think he's running out.
Man, dude, when you man, it was like when Obi-Wan was like, I just heard the cries of 1,000 children, and then it just ceased to exist. That's his ass trying to get back. So that's a problem, and he is deteriorating. And I don't care if you're with or against him, you have to admit he's not a good guy. He's not what should be your ideals. And for everyone to take a knee to let him become the candidate just shows that your party doesn't have its priorities straight. Do I think the Republicans do? The Republicans don't. This is not me defending the Republicans. This is me pointing out a fallacy and problem and the hypocrisy of the Democratic Party. Because obviously we know the Republicans have problems. They don't even try to hide they have problems. They are just like, yeah, we're fucked up. Live with it, yeehaw. But the Democrats keep trying to hide it. But you can't.
I mean, there's always that whole entire thing like Democrats are trying to create a utopia. Like, that's why you have those Minnesota people that pretty much defunded the police now hiring private security that's $4,500 a day for each of them. You know?
But our citizens are threatening us. We need protection because we don't want to protect our citizens. We're going to have patrols. You know, there's been shootouts since then. I say this. I believe in the Second Amendment. You think
Trump's going to send the National Guard in?
He technically doesn't have the authority unless, again, he goes off that old-ass incursion bill from 18 whatever.
So it's just
it's up to the governor. This is what I think. I believe in the Second Amendment. Okay? Within reach, I have a rifle and I have a handgun. Okay? They're all legal. Okay? Because you have to do it legally. That's what I always have to say, but whatever. Let it happen. Fuck them. Like Rorschach said, when everyone cries out for help, you're gonna whisper no. These people need to be taught a lesson. And the sick and sad part is I really hope it doesn't turn horrible, and I hope people don't die, and I really hope nothing bad happens. But plan for the worst, hope for the best. But and I'm glad I live where I am right now. People in these huge metropolitan areas that have a lot of crime, a lot of problems, a lot of poverty, and just a lot of dumb asses with something to prove. They're gonna cause death, and people are gonna die. And they're gonna ask and cry for the government. You know, again, I don't care what color you are. If you're a psycho crackhead trying to rob me, or stab me, or shoot me, I'm gonna defend myself. Okay? I don't care what color you are. If you're cracky, you're cracky. Okay? I don't like crackheads. I wish we could help everyone, but you reap what you sow. You pay for the sins of your fathers, and sadly, this next generation is going to inherit some problems. And they really think that the good of man is going to save them, or the good of man and woman. Sorry, they're trying to rewrite history. This is Orwellian, scary times we live in. Orwell is rolling in his grave right now. George Orwell's like, "What? I literally this was a warning, not a manuscript." This wasn't, I wasn't supposed to teach you what to do. I was trying to warn you what to happen. Because, again, a lot of people will follow. But a lot of people aren't strong enough to lead. A lot of people think they're leaders and revolutionaries, but they're just pawns. And smart people that actually will rise to power will control their emotions. Because if you control emotions, you control the people. And the sad part is, that is what's going to happen. And a lot of people will die if this escalates into a problem. Do I think it will turn into a communist massacre? No. Will there be bloodshed? Maybe. Will it turn into a civil war? I don't know. I don't think so. Maybe. Depends. I would see more of a civil war if some psycho that in the government starts it, but I don't see the people trying to kill each other unless you start attacking more and more people. But I am fearful because if we do start a civil war, the side you're not on is going to be rooting for China. So, but in our soon future, we have something else very scary coming to your doorstep. Do you know what that is, George?
COVID-19 and Melinda Gates wanting black people to get it after healthcare workers.
Vaccines.
Yeah.
Not.
Oh, sorry. Not the actual disease.
Yeah.
No, vaccines.
Well, they might have it in there. Technically.
It does, technically. Yeah.
A dead or damaged version. Now, to my left on the screen, it's the right, whatever. That is Bill and Melinda. Bill is the one on the left. There's a picture of them with hair swapped. It's creepy.
Yeah, it's pretty nuts.
Now, Bill Gates, philanthropist, billionaire, trying to save the world. That's what they'll tell you. Look into his past and who his parents are. Just so happens his dad helped run and create and somewhat co-found Planned Parenthood. Mm-hmm. His mom was a high up position in IBM, and this kid just happens to drop out of school, an Ivy League college, and created Microsoft. Just had this idea that was stolen from IBM. It's stolen from oh god, why can't I say it was stolen from IBM? It's hard to say. And his dad started Planned Parenthood, which was called something else before. You look that up. I don't even want to tell you on here. It's pretty crazy what the precursors are. Just saying. And guess who else? The actual founder of Planned Parenthood was a racist. Look it up. Hillary Clinton, that was one of her idols. Look it up. It's public knowledge. Okay? Don't just take my word for it. Look it up. Now, tell me a little bit more about this, George. I would like to learn.
All right. So, essentially, Melinda Gates, who's the wife of the Microsoft founder, broken her silence about who she thinks should be in line to receive the COVID-19 vaccine. Speaking to Time Magazine, which I have also on my computer, ahead of the 2020 Global Vaccine Summit, which took place in the UK on June 4th, Gates said that black people must be vaccinated after healthcare workers. First people that need this vaccines are 60 million healthcare workers around the world that deserve to get it before anyone else. Then you start tiering. Melinda went on to say black people in the U.S. must be vaccinated after more than 60 million healthcare workers around the world. So this is just a repeat, like the Tuskegee experiment, in my opinion.
Look that up.
Yeah, so if people don't know what that is, the Tuskegee experiment began in 1932, and essentially they had over 600 men who originally were voting with the product, and they promised all these great things, like as far as free public health service. This ended up affecting all the way down to a lot of men's children, and a lot of, I think it was about 60 that died from it, or 28 participants perished from the syphilis, which was the vaccine they were getting. It was a syphilis vaccine. And then 100 more passed away from related complications, and at least 40 spouses had been diagnosed with it, and the disease got passed on to 19 children at birth. So, is the vaccine the best way to go about this, even though we know, especially a new vaccine, and giving it to quote-unquote black people and people of color before white people?
So a few interesting things about this. One, some vaccines are good. Rushing a vaccine with obviously you can't even test for short term. Bill Gates said it himself. He needs to get this out as soon as possible. And a lot of people are skeptical. The biggest hurdle to get this vaccine out is getting people to take it. That's he said. Because a lot of people are hesitant because, one, they don't trust them. Two, it doesn't have enough clinical trials. It's not going to have any clinical trials. It's just going to be sent out. So not only do we not know what's going to be the long-term effect, but we're not going to know what the short-term effect is. And that's scary and dangerous, right? Mm-hmm. And look, I'm not an anti-vaxxer. I've been vaccinated, right? And there are certain vaccines that I think have helped us, right? But also, if I were to have a child right now, they would have much more vaccines than I had.
Yeah.
And then our parents had even less. And, there's arguments of so many correlations between that and autism and what have you. Some say it starts before birth, whatever have you. Mm-hmm. Will it cause problems? Maybe. I had a nephew that had an allergic reaction to a vaccine and caused literal problems, and he has issues actually breaking down proteins and irons in his system, and has actually stunted his growth. His sister is just as tall as him already, and he's in puberty, and she's a little kid. He looks like a little kid because of it. And when he had the allergic reaction, they're like, oh, we didn't realize that was going to happen. His legs swelled up so bad and it caused him severe problems, and he was hospitalized. Now, again, that was an allergic reaction. I'm not saying that's common, but I'm saying we don't know what's going to happen. Now, I have been looking into this. Again, I am no researcher myself. I'm not a doctor, but I can read. I have passed with an A English composition, college level. Whoa. I'm not, at least have a 12th grade reading level, at least. And at least that's California standards. So I'll give California that. They're pretty good at schooling. Hey, yeah. So, the problem is, you need to read, right? Don't just read the headlines, right? The headlines, I'm trying to point to that. Well, you need to read the whole thing, right? You don't need to just be told something by the news. You need to read into it. And I always recommend read counter arguments, right? Because there's always going to be. Mm-hmm. And the issue is, again, this is not going to go through clinical trials. This is going to be rushed out. And you know what the clinical trials are? Medical staff and people of color. Do you really want to be a guinea pig? I heard someone joke around saying, well, why can't we at least make the, pedophiles and sex offenders hit it first?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And, again, their argument is, which is pretty fucked up, it's hitting the black community the hardest. Right? But, look at a map. If you look at the world map, hold on, this is the problem. You look at the world map, it's actually hitting Western and Indian country, India and the West, way harder than it's hitting China and Africa. But it's still hitting China and Africa because, well, we're testing more, so we're gonna have more cases. I don't care what you say. If you're too dumb to understand that more you test, especially something that's spreading very quickly, and majority of people that get it don't even realize they have it, which is, look into it, they're even saying this, you're gonna have higher cases. And if you're too dumb to get that, be the first person to take that vaccine. Please take that vaccine and let me know what happens. Okay, great, thanks. Because look, again, I know you hate Trump so much that you're fucking deaf, right? You're so blind, you're deaf. Look, if someone says, more we test, obviously more we're going to show, we did almost 30 million tests. 30 million! The closest country's 5 million.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, and we're very unhealthy. Now let's go back to what she says. She wants the black community and people of color first. She's literally saying, black Americans, people of color in America, Hispanics, blacks, Puerto Ricans, y'all are unhealthy. So you're going to take the vaccine first because y'all are going to die first because you have problems. Now, let's look at some numbers real quick. I'm not going to pull them up. You can Google them yourself, but I will tell you off the top of my head. one. What is the number one killer in the United States? Do you know what it is, George?
I think it's like heart disease, right?
Heart disease. About 630 plus million. Sorry, I'm Joe Biden. Kidding. Calm down, people. Kidding. Okay, that was a joke. It's a joke. Okay, going back though, it's about 630,000 people a year die, or at least last year it was around that number. Number two, do you know what it is?
No.
Cancer. About 528,000 people, something like that. It was over 500,000. Do you know what number three is?
No.
I looked all these up, by the way. Yesterday.
Yeah, okay.
Accidental injuries to yourself. Falling and hitting your head. Saying I could lift that above my head. I don't need I don't need a contractor to do this on my house. I can jump off this bridge. That majority of people that die that way are males, between 1 to 44. After 44, people are like, okay, I'm always in pain. Obviously, I'm going to slow it down. After that, do you know what it is?
No.
Chronic lower respiratory disease. People like that smoke, bad inhalation, asthma, what have you, right? They can't breathe. People have to be on ventilators. Now, do you know, other than the falling and killing yourself, all those things exacerbate what happens to you when you have COVID. If you have high blood pressure, heart disease, elderly, if you have lung issues, it makes it worse. That's a fact. Look it up. So, at the end of the day, Americans are unhealthy. Another number that's going to surprise you. Look up, because I'm not going to tell you, but I just want you to look it up. If you want to look it up right now, George, I'll let you do it. Look up how many people that are related to, like as in like working with, or family of people that work with, or people that are in nursing homes. Look up how many, or the percentage itself, of people that are in nursing homes and elderly have died from COVID. It's a fucking huge number. Why? Because you're working with these people day in, day out. And the most susceptible are the elderly. People who have compromised immune systems. And the crazy part is children aren't dying from COVID. It's elderly. It means if you're already trashed, your body and system is on a decline, it will hit you harder. And it's not fair that, Como, nipple ring Como, Andrew, not Chris, I don't know what Chris has. He probably has some kind of nut shit, like nut holder thing, just
so
shocks his taint.
Oh, yeah.
Every time he tries to, have you ever noticed sometimes Como starts telling the truth and being a little honest or asking real questions, and he gets all weird? Because they're shocking his taint.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, no, he's like, but what about, back to you, commercial break. Oh.
So, according to the CDC website, the CDC has information on older adults at higher risk. 8 out of 10 COVID-19 deaths reported in the U.S. have been adults 65 years or older, essentially.
Doth my ears deceive me?
That's a lot, man. That's on the CDC.gov, dude. And people are still fucking...
Do you know why Japan and parts of Europe, like Germany and certain areas, especially Japan, I'm just going to use Japan as the best. Do you know why Japan isn't having massive deaths? Because they quarantine the elderly and the sick. You're not allowed to be fucking around them. People like you and me, that are at least kind of healthy, have a better chance. So guess what? You put on a fucking mask if you're in a public area. Also, they have a much lower obesity rate. I know they have sumos, but those sumos are probably healthier than your average American. So, the problem is we are unhealthy. We are unhealthy. Everything has high fructose corn syrup. Everyone has blocked arteries, high blood pressure, stress. Another thing, stress. Stress can cause high blood pressure and ulcers and other litany of problems in your body. It causes you to age. Why do you think I look so old? Because I'm stressed because I actually get what's going on in the world. So look, again, going back to what I said earlier about why kids are turned to Marxism. They're stressed. They're angry. They're freaked out. The news tells them. The news is a fear peddler. They make so much money of fear and hatred, right?
Yeah.
And so every day you're told you're going to die.
Mm-hmm.
Your best friend that's a little bit tanner than you is going to die from the genocide, and you're going to die of COVID, and your government hates you. It's not that they hate you, but you're told horrible things. That your president is out to get you. That
You're told your president's doing treason with Russia.
Yeah, every day. You have people barking and waving their finger at you. You have the stress of bills. You have the stress of if you go to college. You have the stress of love, alone.
Student loans.
Fucking 14-year-olds killed themselves over a fucking date. You know. You have the stress of everything. You have the stress of social media and social standards. You have the stress of always having to look better, be better, feel better. You have to have this facade, this facade on your social media that you have to look better. You have to act better. You have to be more popular to have more clout. You have to be more, more followers. This, that, whatever have you. If you don't have the right TikTok, which is a Chinese listening device, it's made by the Chinese government, and it is stealing your information. You have these just dumb standards of society telling you have to be so great. People on Facebook, they have to post about look at I'm a social warrior. I had to tell my sister, like, no offense, but enjoy your moral high ground victory of social media, bullshit. Like, I'm sorry. Like, I didn't come here to argue with you. I came here to talk to you about something, to express my opinion. I didn't come here to cause an argument. Right? Like, and again, I'm not trying to be malicious. I'm just stating opinions and that have actual facts behind them that you can look up and find out for yourself. Okay, I'm not here posting about, oh my God, look at I'm a justice warrior. I'm a warrior for the people. Look at, here's my black box. Hey, look at George, there's a black box around us. Does that count? I'm not here for that. I'm here to tell you the fucking truth, because guess what? The history is the good. Is the bad, and it's definitely the ugly. It's good, the bad, and the ugly. If you don't appreciate it, if you don't appreciate power, hatred, death, and fear, then you're gonna succumb to it. There is beauty in darkness, and you have to find it, because you become lost. And if you become lost, you turn to the wrong things, and you turn to madness, and you turn to hate, and it only turns to suffering, more suffering. And the news likes to peddle suffering. And they're not your saviors. They hand you candy. But then what were we told when we were kids? That motherfucker in the van handing out candy is gonna fuck you up, steal you, rob you, and diddle you. Mm-hmm. It's the same shit. These people are trying to hand you candy. They're not the saviors of the world. Be right, do right, be healthy, work on yourself, self-accountability. I argue this all the time. Look at what you're doing. The argument I had with my sister was on a statistic. Did you know no one's wearing a mask? You have a 70% chance of contracting COVID if you're around someone that has COVID. If the person who has COVID, yeah. And then it's like, if you have a mask on, it drops it, right? If you are healthy and they have COVID, it's like 70%. Mm-hmm. Right? So if you're healthy, but you have a mask on, and the person without the mask has COVID-19, you have a 70% chance of getting COVID. Now, the person with COVID has a mask on, but you don't, that goes down to 5% chance. 5%. Because again, that's what masks do. The mask is to prevent this
going out,
not this, right? And then if you're both wearing masks, it goes down to 1.5%. Now, 70 to 5 is a giant jump. Now, this ain't gonna protect you from COVID. Cloth. You have to have N95 mask. An N95 mask. And you still have a chance to contract it.
This motherfucker also.
Yeah. But the actual medical grade mask is called an N95. And that is the medical grade to stop it.
Uh-huh.
Why? Well, look it up, a-hole. If you know everything. So, again, if you have COVID and you have a mask on and someone else doesn't have a mask on, that's 5% chance. Whereas if you have COVID and you don't wear a mask and I wear a mask, that's a 70% chance. Think about that. Ponder that for a second. So, obviously, that's self-accountability. So, why does Japan have less cases and deaths?
They quarantined the right people.
Quarantined the right people. They took proper steps. And they're a clean society already. They're a healthier society. So if you add all that together, you get a lot less. It's just a fact. So, again, these aren't your saviors. You know, again, pharmaceuticals isn't the end-all be-all. Everyone wants to pop pills and shoot up something. That's not right. You know, and I'll give Trump one thing. Because the Democrats keep saying that they are going to essentially force, like Andrew Cuomo said, he's going to work with this fucker and pretty much make it mandatory to be vaccinated for COVID-19.
Mm-hmm.
Biden was asked that question. He mulled it over. Democrats are mulling over making it mandatory. Trump at least said, which again, I know y'all hate me because I'm defending him, I guess, but this is not really defending him. This is just saying, I prefer this, right? I prefer this. Not the person, but what he said. It's not mandatory. It's voluntary. And we're working on therapeutics.
Yeah.
We're trying to understand this in more ways than one. We're not just trying to throw vaccines that are untested in your face and shoot them into your body. Because we don't know what's going to be the short-term, you know, or
long-term effects. Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. And I don't know what the big problem or issue that is, but the fact of the matter is there's billions of dollars in this binding a vaccine shit. So all these motherfuckers, just like Bill Gates, they're going to push for mandatory because they want their ROI, their return on investment. Yeah. Like, it goes back to, like, how much money they're making off this. Like, it's follow the money. For the love of God, follow this money. That's like WikiLeaks been putting out information since 2018, guys. Like, it's a free information. Just look it up.
Here's a fun fact for all you kids out there that don't know this life lesson yet. Doesn't matter if you're white, black, brown, or anything in between. It matters about the green. Green's the most important thing. It's always about the money. Today, George sent me a commie recruiting cutie, hello commie, hello cutie, kitty, but it's commie. All they do is talk about communist shit, but then have a link to buy prints of their posts.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that capitalism?
It's fucking weird.
Isn't that capitalism? So even communists care about money. And that's why it turns into not communism, it turns into totalitarian communism. It turns into all down here are poor and the little tiny bit control all the money.
So trying to make communism cute again.
Yeah. It's not cute. It's not nice. It's not fair.
It's just literally, like you were saying, it's an indoctrination to this.
Yeah.
And the fact that there's another person that falls it besides who I'm not going to mention who sent it to me, but she's also a little loca, as far as being this whole entire BLM type human activist thing, but realistically it's just not a good look. And she's supposedly straight or whatever. It's not going to appeal to guys like me to try to go after her anymore, to be completely honest.
Yeah. I like a woman that can think for herself and not just follow the crowd.
It feels like it's bad to say it like at this time, and like, but everyone, like, not every girl I know has been doing this whole entire like black cube thing, you know. But
look,
it's hard.
I believe
it's a very small percentage.
No,
right?
no, it's a bigger percentage than you think. I'll tell you this: I believe in the sentiment Black Lives Matter because black people matter.
Yeah.
But all Black Lives Matter, right? Not just the ones they want you to know or hear about or talk about. Okay? I love black women. Shit. Lost my virginity to a black chick. You know, so I don't have any problems. I've actually tried dated more, if you consider half black being black, majority of the women I've ever slept with, or dated at least, are black. You know, they're nicer, better, more compassionate than white girls. White girls suck. They follow, and they're not that great of people half the time. I'm not saying all. Hashtag not all. I don't trust that white woman. Hispanic girls are pretty great too. Yeah,
Amen.
But whatever. I like a woman that challenges me. That's just me. But this is the thing. I don't believe in the Black Lives Matter organization. I don't like them. They're funneling money through Act Blue, which is going to Democrats.
I showed my sister that, and she was like, "What do you mean?" I was like, "Well, here." And she was like, and I did the whole entire donate thing. I was like, Act Blue. She was like, "Oh," and I'm like, "Yeah, you post about it a lot. You should."
Yeah, they are funneling money. They're funneling money because, again, they were broke. The DNC was broke. They couldn't actually get that much donations anymore.
No, because they're weak-minded individuals.
And so they weaponized and used the Black Lives Matter movement to become money launderers for them, and to find money another way for them. And it's kind of messed up. I think it's kind of wrong. If I were black, I'd be really mad. I'd be really mad that my movement that's supposed to be about me is not about me. And there are a lot of black people, especially black men, that are realizing this is not about me. I'm not represented here. All the people on the loudspeakers, most of them aren't black. Most of the people that are in the streets marching aren't black. And it goes against their community. And I'm not going to say why, because I know it'll be chastised. But let's be honest, there's some that they don't have the same ideals.
Dude, when I was working at MedMen, I had like these two black guys. They're obviously like straight, and then we had this one bisexual black guy, and they did not like the bisexual black guy. They didn't like. I'm sorry, like I'm not gonna like. A lot of the black guys I work with did not like the gay people I worked with. Like, if this was in LA, this was Beverly Hills. Like, I'm not gonna even like. That's the way it was, and that's the way they were taught. And sorry, like don't get me wrong. I think black lesbians are the coolest lesbians like ever. Like they're really, really cool people usually.
Yeah, we like all the same thing and even the same women. So
yeah. Like even like other like lesbians, but like there's some like just crazy ass motherfuckers. There's crazy ass everything. There's crazy ass straights. There's crazy ass non-binary. There's crazy ass everything. I can get along with. I can find the common denominator with people, essentially. Like that's why you can never like no one can ever say like, especially in my family, that I'm fucking like Republican, I'm a Nazi, blah blah blah, like all that right wing shit. I'm really not. I'm literally center. Like I believe the world is run by a pedophile reptilians. All right.
You're a different breed of people that they try to categorize into a field that they don't understand. They think because you're different than them, then that means you're the opposite of them, and that's a problem, right? It's the same as if you're not with us, then therefore you're against us by definition. Because you're not technically liberal Yahoo, therefore definition you are against us, meaning you're a psycho right-wing extremist, which is that is not true. Again, it's not black and white, it's gray area. There's a lot in between, and I've said this before more than once. There's two centers, right? So we're taught left and right go like this, right? They just continue to go out, but that's not true. Everything is circular, right? Look it up. Everything keeps going around. So there's people like us, they're in the center, And then once you start going left, you start going right. It's not a straight line. It's not linear. It's actually circular. And then you meet back here. And that's where you get fascism and totalitarian communism. That's where you get the psycho so left and so right that they actually touch and become a new type of center. You get communists that massacre people and keep the money from the people. You get fascists that massacre people and keep the money from the people. But they're both opposites of each other. They say they're opposites, but they're the same idea with a different mask on, a different face. You could have the same idea with a different face. It's like, look at religion, right? Same ideals with a few different words.
Oh yeah.
You know, so
different priests in different churches too.
Yeah. So
different.
That's a problem, right? And people, you know, I recommend a lot of people look up Joseph Campbell, read The Hero of a Thousand Faces, and read The Power of Myth. This will help you understand a lot more about culture and society and how a lot of it's the same. Just we call it different things. At the end of the day, a lot of different cultures, societies, religions believe the same exact thing, but the thing is, they think they're the right ones, and the other ones are not the right ones. It's all the same shit. Same stories, same myths, same hopes, same ideas, same fears. But yeah, going back to it, look, be an individual. Be an individual and think for yourself, and don't be afraid of society to tell you you're wrong, right? I had a discussion with George the other day saying, look, if everything is good, there has to be good and bad, right? There is always a balance, order and chaos. There's always yin and yang, left and right. So if everything in our society now, if we shift everything from good and bad to just good, there will always still be the other side of the spectrum. So even not that good would be considered bad, right? So there will always be bad. No matter how great or advanced or civilized we become, there will always be a negative. And that negative could actually not be negative or bad per se, but it will be conceived as bad because it is not as good as true great or true good. Right? And that's the problem what's going on here with left and right, Democrats, Republicans. So you have liberals that are saying, well, you're not left enough, so you're not a liberal. You are not a Democrat because you don't believe in what we're saying, and we only believe in the extreme left. And so if you're not extreme left and you're slightly right from extreme left, you know, you're on the left side of the spectrum, you are still right of me, so you are right. Same thing with right-wing extremists. They're like, well, you're more centered, that means you're a left, Democrat, liberal, Yahoo. Because if you're not extreme right, and you're left of right, you're the left. Does that make sense, people?
Yeah.
But it's untrue.
Yeah. Well, I had my cousin come up to me. Shit.
Coronavirus!
Come up to me yesterday saying she was confused about my Instagram because I post memes making fun of both sides. And she's like, what are you? I'm like, I'm kind of just fuck both sides.
George, you know what you should say? I'm George motherfucking Katami.
Just
say I'm George. That's what I am. I see, this is the problem. There are a select few of us that truly see the world for what it is. And you realize everyone's a hypocrite, everyone's a liar, and everyone has their own personal bias and agenda. So yes, the Democrats have done great things, and they've done horrible things. And the Republicans have done great things, and they've done horrible things. I, being someone who can understand that, can see both sides and understand what you need to be as an individual is to look at both sides, look at both arguments, and try to distinguish and decipher for yourself what's right. And again, things do change, right? And that's where this problem, this pushback, this cancel culture is trying to tell you everything you did was wrong. And that's a problem. If you think Teddy Roosevelt was an evil person, you don't know the truth, all of Teddy Roosevelt. Has he done bad things? Yes. Has he done great things for the better good of people? Yes. Same thing with Winston Churchill. Same thing with Franklin D. Roosevelt. They did horrible things in their lives, especially their personal lives. But they made the world a better place. Hitler was an artist and a vegan and fucking I don't even think he drank. I know he popped pills.
Yeah.
But I don't think he was an alcoholic or anything like that. He wasn't considered an alcoholic, and he was a fucking vegetarian. And he was an artist. But how history remembers him as being a fucking sick, ruthless person. So again, there is duality of man. There's more sides to humans than just what history is painted. So I understand that a lot of kids are having problems finding out the dark, the bad, and the ugly of history. It is hard when you're told that you're a perfect child and then you find out you're not perfect. It is hard to say that you're the best place in the world, but it's not the best. Dan Cummings has a good joke. Okay, I'm going to paraphrase it. I don't think I'm going to get 100% right, and I'm saying this is Dan Cummings' joke, so hopefully we don't get pulled for this. He says he thinks that America is not a great country, but we're the best country. And he said, let me give you an analogy. If every man in your family beats their wife, but you beat your wife the least, you aren't a great man, but you are the best man in that family, right? We're not the greatest thing on earth and the greatest thing ever, but we try and we're pretty damn good. The fact of the matter that you were outdoors creating creating protests, creating problems, us right now on the internet complaining, shows that we have some opportunities, some liberties, and some rights. Because there is true censorship in this world. And there are places that have horrible, horrible, horrible governments, and or worse, slave trades, and or worse, sexual slave trades, and or worse, being a fucking bullet in the head. So we are allowed, for now, to say our opinions. But the problem is, if you are given an inch and you take a mile, there is pushback. Okay, there's only so much people and the government will take. Okay, so obviously there are instigators. I do believe there are good protesters, and there are people that truly believe they're doing what's right. But there are instigators, and there are rilers, and there are people getting people pissed. We mentioned, like 10 podcasts ago, about the broken window theory. To get a crowd riled up, you break a window because they see something's broken, and it's an instinct in their brain to cause havoc because it already started, right? That's why a shootout, say, there's 10 guys with guns, points at 10 guys with guns. The second one shoots, they all shoot. So you try not to make the mistake to be the first to shoot. Because the second you pull that trigger, there is no going back, and everyone starts shooting. It's the same thing. It's a mentality where it's like a fight or flight mentality. Once the window's first broken, the first rock is thrown, the first, pepper spray is shot, the first brick is thrown, the first whatever, what have you. It causes that fight or fight mentality, and you just go. And a lot of kids don't know how to control themselves. Right, we're coming up to an hour 40 minutes.
All right,
let's get some final thoughts in.
People need to be, in general, this whole entire situation, people need to be stronger mentally. Don't let words get you down. If you really believe in something, talk about it, and it'll get out eventually. Strength in numbers.
Yeah. Look, I don't want to say strength in numbers because that's what the communist Russians did. So inside. This is my thing. I rant and rave a lot, but there is validity behind my words. I don't want you to blindly follow me, and I know there's not a lot of you, and a lot of people don't even listen to our podcast all the way. I hope you do. But I do also hope that you try to counter my opinion. You try to research and do your self-service to find out more about what I say. I'm here to provoke thought and spark that thing called your noodle. Okay? or your brain or whatever. I don't know if noodle's a bad thing now to say. So we do have a problem in our government. There is a deep state. There are nefarious people. And there's too many people in power that aren't good and don't really have your back. So do your research, look it up, figure out what's right and wrong, and stop blaming the citizens. Fun fact, the American flag is the country's flag. Different departments of governments have different flags, different pins. That's a state flag. Fun, right? So be mad, and so don't hate your fellow citizen, because that's how they control you. That's how communists spread. That's how fascism spread. That's how the Holocaust started. That's how the mass fucking famine and murder of communist Russia started. That's how Mao Zedong, General Mao, was able to take so much power, because people feared and hated one another, their fellow man and citizen. Because these people in power, these nefarious elites, control the minds of people to hate one another rather than hate them. The pawns kill each other so the king can survive. The elites are the kings. They own you. They own every aspect. And the more we fight with each other, the less we see that they're the problem. The less we see that they're making profits off us. Jeff Bezos, in the first, 3 months, got $500 billion more dollars added to his personal worth. Mm-hmm. Mom and pop shops are losing. These large corporations are winning. The systemic racists are the ones saying Black Lives Matter and LGBTQ flags. Like, they're the ones. They're the system. They control policies. These large, corporations with their lobbyists and their fucking politicians in their pockets are profiting off your fear and hate. These media companies are profiting, and they're turning us against one another. So stop, please. Stop listening to them. Think for yourself. Realize there is no perfect history. And the present is rough, but it's better than what it was, and we are at the pinnacle of a moment in history where we can move forward or we can regress. Not progress. We're not saying we're progressive, because that's bullshit. Let me tell you something. Fancy, fun, nice sounding words are candy to the brain that will rot your brain. Candy's not good for you. Okay? Candy's not good for you. I'm sorry. Get those carrots for the brain, not the candy for the brain. Politicians hide behind words of progress and and what have you. They try to promise you change and this and that and never follow through. So please don't regress by trying to act like you're going for progress. And those are my final thoughts. So everyone, thank you, George. This was a good podcast. So everyone, I just want to say, more to come. Be better. I know there's that watermark down there. We're going to see how the quality came out. Might use it, might not. I don't know. But we're just working. We're trying different programs, software. I might get into just some recording and then doing post-production. I'm not sure yet. Just trying to see what's easiest, what's best. We're just trying to get the word out. Obviously, we don't have tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of equipment. I made a soundproof room and a closet. So I come out of the closet every night. See, I'm on your side. All right, guys, keep your eyes open, all three of them.